Top 5 worst cars you can buy if you are just starting to learn, and cars that will probably be a bad idea if you have a lack of money or have too much money, or just would be terrible for anyone to learn. So, without further ado, let's jump straight into today's video. Hey, I'm Cars with Ben. I make weekly car content. Now, before you ask, I will not be putting in the Chrysler PT Cruiser because hopefully no one is stupid enough to buy that car as their first car. But I digress. Let's get into today's video. At number 1 is a car that you probably shouldn't buy when you're first starting to learn, is the Maserati 3200 or the 4200 GT Coupe. Now this car is an absolute automotive perfection, very similar to the DB7 of the time, which Italy tried to take on, and I think it is a really good car. I love these, never really see them. However, this probably isn't the most ideal car to buy due to the fact it's incredibly expensive to run for someone who is just starting, and actually pretty powerful, so that's going to be against you in the insurance. However, if you've got the money, and you love these cars, why not? Now, something to look out for is the price. Now, these really vary from anywhere from £10,000 to £20,000. With total power of 370 horsepower and 4.95 seconds to 60, it is pretty quick and has a lovely Italian interior, which is to die for. Probably one of the best interiors in a Maserati you can get. However, there are a few issues with this car. Now, generally, the car is mechanically robust and everything works, but you'll want to look out for electrics because this is an Italian car and electrics are not their strong point, believe it or not. Looking at some of the replacement parts is where it's going to get you with this car. A lot of the replacement parts are typically pretty expensive when it comes to Italian sports cars. Just for example, brakes and anything that needs to be upgraded could cost anywhere into £1,000 plus. And if anything goes wrong with the engine, then you'll probably have to spend probably what the car is worth just to repair it. For my second choice is the Pontiac Aztec. Now this is a car that you might love or hate depending on if you've watched Breaking Bad, but I think the creators knew that when they were making the series. The Pontiac Aztec is a crossover SUV marketed by General Motors from 2001 to 2005, along with Buick parts. Now it's probably one of the most and undeniably ugliest cars that has ever been made, alongside some things such as maybe the Chrysler PT Cruiser or perhaps some Kias or maybe SsangYongs. However, the Pontiac Aztec comes in with a weird pricing because it just couldn't find one in the UK. Now, it generally speaking isn't a terrible car to run in terms of its reliability, but the reason why you shouldn't buy this car if you're just starting to learn is that it is just a genuinely awful idea. You'll never have any friends, and let's be honest, this car probably, if you had this car, you probably wouldn't have any friends anyway to carry around in. Now, it was assembled in Mexico, so I don't know if that's something related to the way that it was made, but I don't know if GM designed it in such a way that it made it so strange. The Aztec is obviously known for its controversial styling, but in a way that's because that's a good thing, because a lot of people have actually really liked this, and it's definitely something to maybe not consider when you're picking your first car. It does have a big V6 engine though, which is pretty good for speed and power with 3.4 litres, so there you go. If you're interested in the Pontiac Aztec as your first car and you want something on the ugliest car ever made, here it is, the 5-door crossover. Coming in at number 3 is the Range Rover Autobiography, or the Range Rover L405 for most of its model years. Now, this is a car you definitely should not consider if you are a first-time driver, because there are so many reasons as to why this car is ridiculous. You know, reliability is one, price is one, which I will go into, the size, and the fact it's actually a really nice car to be driving. Way too good for a first car when you should have pretty much a banger. Now, I do love these cars, but let's go into a few reasons why you shouldn't buy this as your first car. With price. These cars can cost anywhere from £60,000 to £100,000, and that is ridiculous for someone to start learning in a car like that. Now, I know it's possible for maybe really wealthy people, but really, why would you want to? You should always learn in a banger anyway. Secondly, the Range Rover is huge, with just a massive dimension size, and just comes in huge capacities, even with the engine with a 2, so all the way up to 5 litre, which is absolutely insane for insurance. Now, the quality of the actual build is lovely, but the reliability is the third point, because it's a terrible car to be running every day, and that really does impact the way that you drive. You know, if you're driving a car all the time when you first start to learn, you don't want to be driving something that's going to break down, and the Range Rovers are terrible for their reliability, and as a result, this happens with them. Now, that's not to say I don't like this car. I think it's a fantastic car, and they've definitely gone through the generations. But if you were to buy one of these, especially as a first car, you probably have like the top end model, and that is well beyond the prices of £120,000. You can get them in several different colours though, so that might appeal to some of the super wealthy teenagers out there, especially in maybe Hollywood or perhaps in the UK where they're very popular. Now they do look really cool, and I guess most of them would never really be used for their off-road capabilities, so that had to come on the list for number 3. At number 4, I thought I'd throw in another movie TV related car for your first car not to buy, which is the DMC DeLorean. Now this car is well known across the world for being in Back to the Future, and I absolutely love these things. I think they're awesome and they're very, very different from anything else out there. A 1983 car which was created from the DeLorean Motor Company, which is no longer around, but was actually assembled in Belfast in Northern Ireland and only made for 2 years. Now, several reasons why you should not buy this car for your first car. Firstly, it's a pretty expensive car now. If you want to buy one of these, they're pretty sought after and really special to get hold of. Now, they did make quite a lot of them, to be fair, but let's go into price. Also very expensive, with a ridiculous almost 30 to 50,000, some even more depending on their age and quality of build. And that should be another one reason. You know, the ultimate is the price, but really there's another reason. Even though this is a cool sports car from the 1980s with a 2.5 litre engine to nearly 3, there are some issues with this car, and that is it's dangerous. A lot of these people who bought one of them would get locked in the car from their interior just because they had a really flimsy old interior, and to be honest, that interior is all grey and boring, and it's pretty horrible, especially with teenagers today who really like their tech. So this would be a terrible choice for people to buy, and it's pretty expensive to run. Honestly, the owning cost of these have been estimated from anywhere from £3,000 to £4,000 a year, depending on how much you've got to look after, especially with such a big engine like that being quite thirsty. Now there are an estimated 6,500 on the road, so it's still quite a lot for the most part. But this is really just a dangerous car because it could kill you and it could cost you your wallet as well if you were to get one. That being said though, awesome car from the movie. Really like it. Very nostalgic. But would you want to live with one every day? That's a question that I think has to be asked with this car, as beautiful as it can be. If you do get one, you should definitely get one in that colour. But typically, they all come in that grey or silver, like chrome look, which is what everyone would want it to be in, like the movie. However, I think I'd want some kind of colour maybe in it because it just changes it from what's already out there. And finally, for my final choice of car on this list today is a very special one. It is the Reliant Robin, a car you should definitely not buy for your first car for a smattering of reasons. The Reliant Robin, if you don't know and you're not from the UK, is a three-wheel car produced by Reliant Motor Company in England from around 1970s all the way up to the 2000s. Now, they made several different facelift versions, as you can see here, but these cars were really popular because it was a 748cc early engine, where that meant you wouldn't pay car tax and it actually classed as a bike. So that's why they were so popular. Now, these are really cheap, as just shown there, for maybe £3,000 to £4,000, maybe £5,000. If you want a really good one, maybe £10,000. So still, pricing, that's not really the issue of this car. What is the issue is the safety, and as we all know, parents want their kids to be safe, and with the Reliant Robin, this is far from safe. A lot of these got into pretty serious accidents because of their toppling over on fast bends, and if you didn't know how to drive the car, especially at that age, you wouldn't really know how to control the car. And I think that's one of the biggest things about this car, is that it would just be a bit of an issue in the bends, and then you wouldn't really understand car control, especially learning to drive. Now, yes, they are cheap to run, and yes, they are cheap to buy. However, it's just the safety issue for me. And as well as that, do you really want to be going around in a car where you can't take your mates? Let's be honest, this is not going to fit more than 4 people for the most part, unless you really tried. And they did make several Mark 1s to Mark 2, Mark 3, and different facelift versions, but really, they never changed that much in their interior. That being said, though, these are really cool and nostalgic, and it's probably the better option if all the cars on this list if you wanted to pick one. So there you are, guys. That is my 5. Hey everyone, thank you for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have, please let me know how I can improve, and if there's any more content you'd like to see from me. I try and aim to bring the best car content to the channel and the platform, and be the most informative channel on cars when it comes to all topics of racing games to cars. So if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I will see you guys in the next video. I'm Cars with Ben.